I'm going to shift our attention to something that's less about military compliance obligations or government compliance and more about advanced technologies, right? And as we continue to advance this platform, we know that one of the accepted technologies that we've been working with for some time and that we're really starting to see significant traction and promise to in the way of being able to identify assets and gain even more efficiencies when performing things like inventories and cycle counts is RFID. And I think what I'd ask the both of you to begin to do is give a little frame of reference for RFID so everyone knows what RFID is and how it applies as a technology, and then where within UC Web would it logically fit for those who want to take advantage of it.
Certainly, Pete. You know, there are various types of technologies that fall under that umbrella that we would call RFID. Radio frequency identification. And A2B, at A2B, we focus on passive UHF technology. We have mobile options as well as fixed options. And some of the terrific benefits you gain with RFID is you can perform functions, whatever that function is, inventory, cycle counting, picking, much faster with greater accuracy. There's no line of sight required. So if you're inventorying items today with barcode, which is still a very applicable technology, where you might have to get to a high bay to actually get to the items, with RFID you wouldn't have to do that. So it's a much faster and less laborsome effort to do that. Fixed portals or choke points where items can be moved through, whether it's on a forklift or a pallet jack, or even on a door portal where people walk through with items. You can capture the location and movement of items, direction of movement, without any human interventions once those systems are put in place. Whether it's in a laboratory to track lab equipment or in a data center to track IT equipment and things of that nature. We've implemented solutions in armories to help facilitate the check-in, check-out process, so they know what's in the armory, what's out, who has it when it was checked out, when it was checked out, along with complete, audit trail and reporting and record keeping.
Real exciting technology, Pete. Darryl's hit home some of the important points of RFID. I'd like to mention of the armory, Darryl, and all the different tag types used for all the different size weapons, of course. But yeah, RFID really makes it exciting, if you can't tell by the smile on my face right now. We love barcode, as Darryl says. It's important to the process, whether it be 1D or 2D barcode, but it really makes you feel like you're a part of something when you're doing this work using the mobile RFID reader, which you have up there on the screen there, or you're watching these portals in action. Because not only are they just recording data, but you can also have these portals do special things like open doors and sound alarms and send messages, and really exciting stuff you can do with the RFID technology we have today.
Yeah, I think the point here is on the visuals that Bob is referring to. As soon as you apply the RFID tag, which acts as that unique identifier, by the way, which could very well be coupled with your item unique identifier to meet the military compliance obligations, then you light up the reading capability here with either humans walking around, personnel walking around with mobile computers, or with fixed readers and what we refer to often as choke points. So as items pass through these areas, the data then gets captured, the location of that item now gets updated, and now you have far more real-time automated visibility of where your assets go within a facility. And sort of by example here with this floor plan, now you can see if you're in a manufacturing environment where you might have calibration devices moving throughout the facility, or items that are in reusable bins in a work in process moving throughout a facility to identify choke points or how to manage labor better throughout that facility. There's really an incredible amount that you can do for process innovation and improvement with the use of RFID technology.
Yeah,
I think relative to, where do you see if you were to recommend starting points for organizations, particularly on the property or the logistics side, Bob or Darryl, with UC Web and its capabilities now to handle these kind of transactions, where do you recommend they start?
well, first, UC Web does this. UC Web doesn't just handle barcode or IUID barcode. It handles RFID, mobile reading, fixed reading, right into one application. So important. I'm not sure if anyone's ever looked at our product from an RFID perspective, but we have RFID shipping capabilities hanging off of custody and acquisition shipments for IRAP purposes, MIL Standard 129 purposes. However, you've got a little RFID string on your asset screens that actually does something. So it's so important for inventorying. But as far as a first step, Darryl, I'm not sure if you'll agree. A nice first step is using one of these mobile devices right here. It's a nice way to get yourself acclimated to the RFID waters before deploying lots of technology around your organization, which we encourage you to do down the road. But starting out with one of these devices and some of the various tag types we have.
I would totally agree, Bob. It gets you in the game. It allows you to really learn how the technology works. You can realize the terrific benefit you can get. And oftentimes, I think, Pete, you were touching on it, sometimes processes have to be wrapped around and modified at times and enhanced to work with the technology to get the greatest bang for your buck. So, you get into the game with a mobile unit such as that. It allows you to have much greater asset visibility. You can do things much faster, which means you could do them much more often, which means when you go to find something in a location you expect it to be, the chances increase dramatically that it is going to be there. And also with the RFID technology, it gives you the ability to actually try and locate an item with that unit that you see on the screen there. It's a nice feature as well.
Yeah,
I'm
also
from there, with fixed readers, choke points, portals, as you were mentioning.
Yeah, I think it's also worth noting that with one of our more recent manufacturing users of UC Web, they have been using it for many, many years in helping to achieve all of this IUID compliance for the assets that they mark and ship off to our federal government. But even within the past 6 months, they have this internal obligation within their organization to do fixed asset accountability. And that's just reporting to their internal CFO office that they have all these fixed assets, and yes, they still are within their custody, and they can hit their own internal balance sheets. And so what they set about doing is actually putting RFID tags on every one of those fixed assets. I think they had just a few thousand across a couple of locations, so a fairly small footprint. And the ability to walk around with mobile computers to capture this asset information, to record the existence and update the location of those assets has provided invaluable to this organization so that they can quickly get that data reported back to their finance office, right? Do you want to comment any more? Would you add to that at all?
I don't have anything else to add to that one, Pete.
I mean, I think in the end, what partly what we're saying here is that it doesn't have to be a massive process rework in order to get this technology to start working for you and start showing and netting results, right?
Yeah, I would agree. Yeah, absolutely.
Anything else you want to mention about one thing maybe you could just clarify here before we depart from RFID is there's RFID tags as I've circled here that have antennas built in, of course, with microchips. But the difference between active tags, which are battery required, and passive tags, which is the technology that we've embraced that have no batteries required, just help to talk a little bit about those differences and why we've gone the path we have.
Well, the excuse me, the passive tags, as you said, it's just an antenna with a chip, and it's stimulated by RF activity that's either coming from that handheld unit that you got circled in this slide, or from a reader and antenna pair, as you got in the lower picture on those dock doors. And when that RF stimulates the tag information, whatever it may be, and one thing it definitely will be is that the hexadecimal tag ID, which will key an asset within UC Web, so we know what item is being read or passing through a portal. An active RFID, which isn't an area that we spend a lot of time on. We have in the past, but as I said, we're primarily at this point focusing on the passive. It's much more cost effective for the customers. Active tags have batteries in them. They're almost always significantly more expensive. They require oftentimes a enterprise grade infrastructure in terms of a Wi-Fi solution, so they can triangulate the positions of items and things like that. And we spent a number of years, kind of, doing some engineering and research in that space. And a lot of our customers, a lot of the large areas that they wish to try and track items in, the network requirements and the number of tags and the costs associated with those tags really didn't seem to make a lot of sense. So we've found other ways to generally get them there, meet their need, give them, again, greater asset visibility, understanding where things are, when they are, when they have to go out and find something, they have the ability to do that. So that's really where we're really spending a lot of our energy on the RFID for asset tracking.